an emotional issue, I suggest that you try to remove the emotion and just stick to the facts. So let me try to stick to the facts, if you will. When we talk about the separation of powers, it is the legislative branch of government that gets to make the law. It is the executive branch of government that gets to execute the law. It's the judicial branch of government to uphold the Constitution. Now, what happened in the Barnum opinion is when the court said, Iowa will be a same-sex marriage state, that is not their job, that's the legislature's job. The courts don't get to make law.
The Constitution is violated. What part of the Constitution does it violate?
When the court said that if all 99 counties would follow suit, the court does not get to execute the law, only the governor gets to execute the law in the state of Iowa. This is an opinion that's never been executed. When the court said we're going to hand out rights the founders could have never imagined, they don't get to hand out rights, they don't get to amend our Constitution, only we the people get to amend our Constitution. I want to give you an example. In my state, we had something called the Kennedy case. In Louisiana, as in some other states, we actually have the death penalty as a penalty in the most severe cases. And one of those examples is those monsters that go after our children, those sexual predators that take away the innocence of our children. It's not used in every case, it's used in the most severe cases. We had a jury that decided to apply that penalty in the Kennedy case. This was, I won't bore you with all the details, but this was an awful, awful case where a man, a stepfather, not only violated and hurt this little girl so badly that she'll never have children again, but permanently hurt this child. 9-year-old child. Well, this case gets all the way to the Supreme Court. The United States Supreme Court says that we're not allowed to use the death penalty in this case because there's a growing national consensus against using the death penalty in these types of cases. Now, when does the United States Supreme Court start reading Gallup opinion polls instead of the Constitution when making its decisions? And that's what's at stake in this election. When you've got the Iowa State Supreme Court creating new law. Look, Justice Wiggins, he has got every right. If he wants to campaign for the legislature, if he wants to run for governor, if he wants to pursue a liberal agenda, he's got every right to do that. He doesn't have the right. He doesn't have the right to usurp the powers of the office of governor and the legislature and create that law from the bench. Let's be very clear what this retention election is about. It's about making very clear in the United States of America and the state of Iowa, we have got separation of powers. We are not going to allow the Supreme Court to say that we're just going to create new rights, new laws that are not in the Constitution. We're not going to allow the Supreme Court to usurp the duly elected powers of the legislature and the office of governor. That is why it is so important. That's why I'm proud to stand here and tell you we need to vote no on Wiggins. We need to send a strong message that we reject the and the Constitution means something. That's why it's called thank you very much.
We are here today to speak Iowan to Iowan and urge voters to flip their ballot over and vote yes for Iowa judges and justice in Iowa and protect justice in Iowa as well. The Vote No advocates' description of the court's rulings threatening freedom is false. They say if the justices are not voted out, all of our freedoms and rights are at risk, including the Second Amendment, our property, and our liberty. The truth of the matter is,
hold your sign right here.
The Iowa Supreme Court applied the Constitution to protect the freedoms and liberties of our citizens.
Oh, yes!
Court's opponents make false statements and misleading claims. We call upon Iowans to reject their use of prejudices and falsehoods, and to reject their efforts to politicize our courts. The truth of the matter is, the Iowa Supreme Court justices, including Justice David Wiggins, followed their sworn oath. They applied the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. They did what the separation of powers calls for, and they applied the Constitution unanimously. The unanimous Iowa Supreme Court and Justice Wiggins did not go outside of the Constitution. The truth of the matter is they applied the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. The court and Justice Wiggins did not go outside of their separation of powers. The truth of the matter is they did what the separation of powers calls for, ruling on the legality of legislation. The court and Justice Wiggins did not amend the Constitution from the bench. The truth of the matter is they applied the Constitution. The Constitution remains the same. The truth of the matter is that removing more justices will not change the law. Only Iowa's legislature and Iowans can do that by amending the state's constitution. The truth of the matter is that removing more justices will only weaken our courts and deny individual freedoms and liberty. We must not let the opponents use voting out judges as protecting liberty, freedom, and justice. These are our virtues. They have been hijacked, and the opponents know how to twist that so well, tricking the voters into undermining the separation of powers. Vote yes for Iowa judges and our courts to guarantee liberty and justice for all.